If the Halls Could Talk is 'n uitstalling van kunswerke wat spesiaal uitgekies word uit jong opkomende kunstenaars. In Kunsbureau besoek ons vandag die Alliance for Visual Arts Gallery in die Kaap en vind meer uit oor die betrokke uitstalling.
We started it a number of years ago. We felt that there was definitely a hole between graduates leaving university or tertiary education and entering into a professional gallery space. So this was an opportunity for them to have a professional platform in a gallery as opposed to in a school, and to iron out some of their amateur traits, give them the opportunity to work within a professional environment. So this is the third time we've done it. We do it sort of every 2 years, and it's very nice for the viewing audiences just to get a sense of the overlaps between the three schools and where they diverge in terms of how they're taught and the way that that is manifested into product, into artwork.
This is the first one that I'm obviously involved in, and we go to the Stellenbosch University, Ruth, Prowse, and then Michaelis, which is the University of Cape Town. And then we went in and we did a selection based with the rest of the selection committee, and then that's obviously how we came to choose different works and what would work within the gallery space.
We have a selection committee at the AVA, so we have a really great reference group of artists, educators and curators, and we went around to all of the grad shows and basically just discussed works, highlights, moments, and everybody gave their perspectives, and then we sifted through that, distilled all of that feedback into a sensibility that we thought would reflect true to those schools.
Obviously with the title it refers to the walls, the hallways of the universities, you know, if these hallways could talk in a way. And then walls, W-A-L-L-S, obviously the gallery walls. And then within the pictures that actually sums up very nicely the eeriness, the fear, the kind of scaredness in a way to start, you know, and the stories that they want to tell, and the absence of bodies and the absence of people, and those stories that the viewers then have to fill in, you know, and we invite people to come and actually fill in those interpretations if they could come around to the gallery. Yeah,
there's everything from photography to installation, very little painting, which we noticed in the grad schools, painting isn't coming through very strongly. So I think we only have one painting on the show. But otherwise, yeah, medium wasn't a defining factor in our choice.
With this show, it is very visual because you're dealing with so many different artists, and it is a group show. So you don't necessarily say, okay, this one is dealing with this like point, you know, their content is this, that person's content is that, let's put it together. Often it's just a visual connection that you're having, where there's houses on this side and that could play very well, or it's an emotion, you know. So you walk into the space, I mean in the long gallery, when you walk in, you look to the one side and you have that kind of an emotion where it's very dark, it's very personal, and you actually have to walk into the space to and sometimes it is just that. It's about creating those kind of environments in little corners, and if it works well on that side, then you know people have that emotion going in there. You link it to the next room so that it has a kind of a flow and a kind of an emotional. With the show, it is very visceral, it is very emotive, and you kind of have to engage with the works a lot more. So that in this show, for me, that's how a lot of the placement has happened.
Over here we have Megan, the Flood. Works are based on moments of anxiety and points where you look at the work and you feel like you need to intervene because it's at a point where you are actually seeing the water overflowing. Do you come in and try and find a solution to the problem, or do you stand back and actually then realize that it's not going to overflow? And that's where the anxiety obviously suppresses. And on the other side we have Mia, Untitled. Both works are Untitled, Weinberg and Newlands. Content itself is based on images of pools and different recreational areas, based mainly on pools. At the moment when you look at Weinberg and you look at Newlands, the the work that she actually discusses is from different areas, so the different locations and also the political impacts of why those pools were built, where they were built, and then also the fact that it doesn't show people in the actual space. And that kind of disconnect of the association that the pools, the recreational areas, are areas where fun and it's very jovial and kind of has this personality, but without the people it becomes a very eerie space. And the fact that it is being cleaned and that people, you don't see the people cleaning it. So it's a very nameless kind of, without any story, and it takes you back to a place where you have your own memories of those pools, but it's a disconnect because there aren't any people, there's no water.
So what we have here is a Ruth Prowse graduate, and this is Gabby, and what she's done is she's created facsimile information of somebody's life, so their birth till their death, out of newspaper articles, out of these little certificates, quite official documents, and it's a made-up life. It's called the Lockwell evidence, but it is done with such attention to detail and sensibility that you feel like you're looking at real evidence of someone's existence. And I think underlying that is how stories are made up and lives are made up, and where does truth actually exist? Very official documents, but yet they're facsimiles. And I think we can take that as a metaphor for everybody's life, really, made up in terms of what's official and what's not official. This time when we added on the If the Halls Could Talk, it was very much because it captured very successfully, I think, the haunted sensibility that runs through the three schools. There's definitely a sense of disconnect and anxiety and fear coming through in a lot of the work. Stacy and I have jested that the show could have actually been called The Kids, They're Not Okay. Yeah, there's definitely a sense of disconnect that the arts, well, these students are feeling from their environment, environmental concerns, socially disconnected from the politics or the social dynamics, and a sense of loneliness and anxiety, and that runs through all three of the schools.